In the summer of 1944, a young German soldier by the name of Hans Schmidt was deployed to the Eastern Front. He had been trained rigorously for months and was eager to prove himself in battle. As soon as he arrived, he was thrown into the thick of the fighting. The Russian army was pushing westward and the German forces were struggling to hold them back. Hans and his unit were tasked with defending a small village that sat on a strategically important hill. Hans was initially excited by the prospect of battle, but as soon as the fighting began, he realized the true horror of war. The sound of gunfire and explosions filled the air, and the ground shook beneath his feet. He saw his fellow soldiers fall beside him, their screams echoing in his ears. Despite the chaos and destruction, Hans and his unit managed to hold the village for several days. But the Russian army was relentless, and they eventually managed to break through the German defenses. Hans was injured in the fighting and was captured by the Russians. He was taken to a prisoner of war camp, where he was forced to work in brutal conditions. He was beaten and starved, and he watched as many of his fellow prisoners died from illness or exhaustion. Hans spent 2 years in the camp before he was finally freed at the end of the war. He returned home to Germany, but he was forever changed by his experiences. He had seen the true face of war and knew that he never wanted to fight again. He tried to rebuild his life, but the memories of the war haunted him. He struggled to find work and to reconnect with his family and friends. He isolated himself from the world, too scared to open up about what he had seen and experienced. Years passed, and Hans eventually found a way to cope with his past. He joined a veterans group where he could talk to other men who had gone through similar experiences. He also started to write about his time in the war, using words as a way to come to terms with the past. Hans eventually published his memoir, in which he described in detail his experiences as a German soldier in World War II. He wrote about the camaraderie he felt with his fellow soldiers, the horrors of the Eastern Front, and the long journey to come to terms with his past. Hans died at the age of 82, but his memoir lives on, a testament to the sacrifices made by soldiers on all sides of the war, and a powerful reminder of the importance of peace and understanding.